What's up guys, and welcome back to another Fortnite Creative tutorial, and today how to make a voting system in Fortnite Creative. Since this is such a big system, I'm going to show all the settings for the devices first, then show all of their event binding settings. So first, place down a random number generator device outside of your map and copy these settings. Value limit 1, 1, value limit 2, same number as the amount of loadouts you want for players to vote for, winning value 0, roll time instant, pick each number once, yes, reset on game start, reset after use, on, reset delay, instant, award score, never, zone direction, doesn't really matter, just make sure it's set to anything that isn't none, length, same as your value limit 2, and play audio off. Next, place down a pulse trigger next to the random number generator just like this, and copy these settings. Loop infinitely, on, width 0.5, length 0.5, height 0.5, zone direction, any that faces onto the random number generator, just like this. Now, place down a trigger inside one of the random number generator zones and change these settings. Trigger by player, off. Trigger by vehicles, off. Trigger by sequences, off. Trigger VFX, off. Trigger SFX, off. Then, copy this trigger so there is one trigger in each of the random number generator zones. Now, the reason we've just made this is so that if the votes end up in a draw, a loadout still gets selected. So, now for the rest of the devices. First, place down an item granter and drop a loadout that you want into it. Then, go to all options and copy these two settings. Receiving players all, grant all items. After this, place down a score manager beside the item granter, but before you make any changes to the settings, rename it to score manager tally. This is going to make it less confusing later when we're linking all the devices with the event binding. Once you've done that, copy these settings. Score value, 0. Score award type, no. Score change when activated, 1. Minimum score, 0. Maximum score, 16. Visible in game, only number. Send event on scoring, 16. Play audio, off. Next, place a HUD message device along with these two devices and copy these settings. Message, whatever you want, mine is, the loadout wins. Placement, again, whatever you want, but mine is top center. Once you've done this, copy this process for all of your other loadouts, except for the random number generator, pulse trigger, and the other normal triggers. You don't need to do all of that again. Lastly, before I show you how to actually vote for everything, place down a timer device and rename it to timer device vote. Then go to all options and put duration to how long you want players to have to be able to vote, timer name, whatever you want, but mine is vote, start on game start, on, can interact, no, visible during game, all, display time in, seconds only, timer running text, whatever you want, but mine is vote. Then, once you've copied those settings, copy the same timer over and then rename it to timer device calculating. Then just change the duration to 10, timer name and the running text to calculating, start at game start to off. Now, how to make the actual voting part. First, go into your actual map where the players will be, and then place down a button and change these settings. Trigger sound disabled, interaction text, vote for whatever loadout, interaction radius 0.5. Then, once you've done that, place down a switch and change these settings. Sound disabled, allow interaction, no, store state per player, yes, check state at game start, disabled. Now place down the last device, which is another score manager. Just like the other score managers, rename it, but this time make sure it's called score manager visible. Then, once you've done that, copy these settings. Score value 0, score award type no, score change when activated 1, minimum score 0, maximum score 16, visible in game, only number, send event on scoring 16, and play audio off. Once you've done this, copy this process for all your other loadouts just like you did before. Now, for the event bindings. Firstly, go back to your pulse trigger and go to functions. Then put start pulse when receiving from timer device vote on success. Then stop pulse when receiving from all of your score manager tallies on score output. Then you don't need to change anything else for your random number generator, but you do for all of the triggers. First, go to functions and put disable when receiving from the opposite numbers of score manager tallies. And what I mean is, because this is trigger 1, put disable when receiving from score manager tally 2 and 3 on score output. But when I do this in the second trigger, I would put disable when receiving from score manager tally 1 and 3 on score output. Then after that in events, put on triggered send event to the score manager tally, activate. Do this to the one that has the same number. For example, this is trigger 1, so I'm sending the event to score manager tally 1. Then do these same functions and event settings for the other triggers. Now that part's completed, go to your item granters and score manager tally devices and go into functions in the item granter and just put grant item when receiving from the score manager tally that has the same number on score output. So since this is item granter 3, put it to receive from score manager tally 3. After this, go to your HUD message device and in functions just put show when receiving from the score manager tally that is the same number on score output. Then do the same process for the other item granters and other message devices. Next, go to your timers and in the vote one, go to functions and put disable when receiving from all of the score manager tallies on score output. Then go to your other timer device, which is your calculating one, and in functions put start when receiving from timer device vote on success. Now lastly, go over to your actual voting part in your map and first go to your button. In events, just put on interact send event to the switch that is the same number to check state. Next, go to your switch and in functions put turn on when receiving from every single switch including itself on check result off. Then scroll over to events and put on check result off send event to the score manager tally that is the same number to activate. Also the score manager visible that is the same number to activate. Then also all of the switches including itself to turn on. Now lastly, in your score manager visible functions put activate when receiving from the switch that is the same number on check result off. Then copy this process for all your other voting loadout selectors. And that is how you make a voting system in Fortnite Creative.